Abu Dhabi Dude! Hi there, this is Abu Dhabi Dude. Welcome back. And today's video, I thought I'd do a little step-by-step kind of how-to guide. I've had a few people ask me about how I plan my road trips. For anyone that's watched my road trip videos, you'll know there's quite a few issues with using the iPace with ChargePlay Scotland's network, which once you get north of Glasgow and Edinburgh is about your only option most of the time. So I've had quite a lot of people ask me how I go about planning these trips. And I thought the easiest way of doing that is to walk you through it for two of the road trips I've done in the past. Now, the reason I've done two is because there's two different types of charger predominantly that ChargePlay Scotland uses. They use the old style eVolt compact chargers, which look like this over here. So you can see there's a touch screen, or a screen should I say, and then there's two physical buttons, a start and a stop button. So that's the old style compacts, which the iPace just doesn't like. It's very reluctant to charge on them, very. But they've also got these new style chargers, which look like this. Now these are the eVolt Raption chargers, and they're the ones that they've been installing more recently. They work great with the iPace, no issues at all. So there's two different types of road trip that you can do. Basically, there's ones where these chargers exist, and there's ones where you're stuck with those old compact chargers and you haven't got access to a new Raption. So I'm going to show you two of the routes I've done, and then in the video description down below I've added links to the road trip videos of those two trips. So if you want to go and watch them to see the actual road trip in practice, after you've seen how I planned it, then you can just click on those links. It's worthwhile for the first one, because with the first one you will actually understand why I do the process that you're about to see. Okay, so all of that dealt with, let's fire it up and get going. Now, to plan the route, I use a Better Route Planner, which is there's no app for this, so you have to use the website. I believe they're working on an app, but at the moment it's www.abetterrouteplanner, all one word, .com. So abetterrouteplanner.com. And yeah, once you fire it up, you get this. I've got it running on my iPad for you here. And I've already put in the first 2 points on this route. So I put my departure. Now, I haven't put my home address for obvious reasons, but I put Glasgow Prestwick Airport, which is a few miles away from where we live. So close enough that it won't alter things dramatically. And then the destination, which was right here at the bottom end of the Kintyre Peninsula. It's a place called Southend Beach. Sorry, I don't know why it's not loading the sea for some reason. There it is. Yeah, Southend Beach at the bottom end of the Kintyre Peninsula. So that's the 2 points on the route. Now below that, when you first fire it up, it will just look like that. You won't have any of the options. So just below the routings, if you click on where it says show settings, then this little list pops up of settings. So you can pick all sorts of vehicles under the model. Obviously I've got Jaguar I-Pace, and it loads your reference consumption for you. Then I use a reference speed of 110%. What that means is it assumes I'm going to be up to 10% above whatever the posted speed limit is. So 55 and a 50, 66 and a 60. Just allows me to not have to focus too much on the speedo, especially on twisty country roads. But, you know, it also makes it slightly conservative, which is helpful. I'd rather be slightly conservative than you know, overly ambitious. But then I set a maximum speed of 70. Now, the reason for that is that maximum speed overrides the reference speed. So what that basically says is I will do 110% of the speed limit, but I won't go above 70. So in other words, I'll do 66 and a 60 limit, but I won't do 77 and a 70 limit, I'll do 70. So the reason for that is once you get above about 75, the I-Pace, I mean EVs generally, but the I-Pace specifically, as this is what this video is about, gets noticeably less efficient. So I tend to limit the speed to 70 on motorways exactly. Plus, I'm also tend to be using the adaptive cruise control. So, you know, where on the twisties you are driving, you know, so you may creep over 60 inadvertently occasionally. That's the story I'm sticking to. On the motorway, I tend to use the adaptive cruise, so I set it to 70 and just, you know, and I know it won't go above that. So it's more efficient, gets you the better range, where it makes less of a difference at lower speed limits. So, yeah, there we go. So there's your speed limit settings. Obviously, starting depart charge is 100%. I'm going to charge up at 100% at home. And then I've set it that I don't want to arrive at charger with less than 10%. And I won't charge to above 90% at any of those charges because it really slows down above 90. Okay, and then I want to get home with 20%. I usually put that down. But if you're feeling brave, and if it's going to take a charging stop out, you could drop that lower if you want to. Then underneath there, you've got show more settings. So if you click on that, you get all of this stuff. So I've set it for British measurements, which is degrees Celsius. So metric temperatures and weights, but imperial distances, so miles and miles per hour. So I've set outside temperature was 10 degrees, which it was when I planned this trip. Originally, I mean. There was no wind and rain was expected. So extra weight was 0. Battery degradation, well, these are default ones. It automatically fills those with 5%. I would hope my battery isn't degraded by 5%, but I just leave it. I'll leave it in there, just again as a little extra buffer. And then under fast chargers, you just want to tick CCS because obviously it's all the I-Pace has. Now, because this is a long route avoiding water, I know it's going to tell me to take a ferry. So I've already said avoid en route ferries and car trains. And that's it. That's all there is. So now, if I click on... Oh, no, actually, one other thing I've got to do. You'll see it's got Glasgow to Southend Beach. Or Glasgow Prestwick Airport, sorry, Southend Beach. Just to the right of Southend Beach, you'll see there's a cross, a little settings icon, and then a little arrow that's kind of that shape. If you click on that arrow, that's what tells it you want to do a return trip. So it will plot going and coming back home again. Okay, so then I click on plan route, and this is what it comes up with. So it's saying that I have to leave home with 100%, follow this route here up past Loch Lomond, and then the first charging stop is Lawn Street Car Park, which I already know because I've done the drive, obviously, is here at Loch Gilphead. So it's telling me I'll get there with 40%. I should stop there, charge up to 90% for about 3/4 of an hour. And from there, I then continue down to where we're going and then come back, stop off at Inverary, which is the avenue as they describe it. That's the location of the charger. Stop off at Inverary, charge up to 68%. Again, about 50 minutes it's saying. And from there, get home and arrive home with 20%. Okay, now that's the simple bit. And in an ideal world, that's all you would do. And that's what I tried to do the first time I tried this road trip and then failed. Okay, so what I've discovered is what you then have to do is you load up PlugShare. Okay, so there's the PlugShare app. And now I just need to find the Loch Gilphead charger on PlugShare. There it is, Lawn Street Car Park. So if I tap on the info button, I get the details. Now all I'm doing here is looking at the photos. So I load up the photo and I can see that's no good. It's the old style charger. So all I then do is I start working backwards from there. Okay, so I see there's one at Inverary, which also, as it happens, is supposed to be my trip back. So that's there. So I tap on that. Let's have a look at the photos. I use PlugShare because it's very easy to find these photos. They're nicely separated like that. In ZapMap, they're mixed in with the chat boxes or the chat page, and you have to scroll through just in the hopes of finding some pictures, whereas PlugShare groups them all together as photos. So there we can see Inverary is also an old style charger. Okay, so what's before that? Okay, there's this one here, which is at Arrochar, which is this one, Loch Long. Let's have a look at that. And this is the process. In fact, that photo is my car. That's my check-in from the last time I used it. That's actually my picture. But you can see old style charger. Now, I'm not going to overcomplicate this by talking about specific chargers. So let's just stick to the generic assumption that we're looking for the new chargers. Okay, so then going back along our route, there's another one right here, which is Lomondgate service station. So if I find that, there it is. Okay, there we go. Now you can see that's not a very good picture. Somebody liked it because it's got the rainbow, but it's not what we're looking for. We want to see the charger. That doesn't help me. That kind of helps me, but there's a good one. And we can see Lomondgate is a new style charger. It's a Raption. That's going to work with the I-Pace. So what I do now is go back to a better route planner, and I just add this charger as a waypoint. And then go back into my route, and I drag it up so that it's in the correct order. So now I'm going Prestwick Airport, Lomondgate services, which is a new style and will work, and then down to bottom end of the peninsula. Okay, so then we plan the route again. And this is how it is. It is a bit repetitious, but it gets you what you want. Now, weirdly, that has now created just an extra charging stop, and it's only taken me from 77%. Now, admittedly, I'm only using 23%, so I'm plugging in at Lomondgate 77%, which is far from ideal. But because I know it works, I'm going to use it because it's the new style charger. So I'll then go back again, and then I'll click on the little settings icon next to Lomondgate, and then at the bottom of that pop-up box where it says charge to, I will put in 90. So what I'm doing is forcing a better route planner to charge me up to 90%. Okay, get rid of that and plan the route. And let's see if that makes any difference. And it actually really doesn't. I'm still having to do those 2 extra stops. It's annoying, but it's, you know, it's the way it is. So let's see. Again, this is the process I go through. What happens if I do charge up to 100%? Because I'm only at 77 when I get there, if we have breakfast there, 100 is probably doable. We can probably do that. It'll probably take, I know it's saying 24 minutes, but it will probably take about, well, less than that. It will, you know, sorry, more than that, because it will taper above 90%. It tapers quite dramatically, so it'll take more than 24 minutes. Does it change anything? No. Okay, right. So we've got an issue. This is basically telling me we've got an issue now with this plan. So now I'm going to cut in. I can see on, if I go to better route planner again, I can see there's a ferry terminal one here. This is where you start getting desperate. So now you're just looking at all the charges on the route to see. Nope, ferry terminal, old style. Okay, and then at the bottom end of Campbelltown, there is an old style. So what that's telling me is, yes, I can top up at Lomond Gate. I'm not going to do 100 because it's so slow, but I will take it to 90 because I know now that I'm struggling, okay? So I'll charge to 90 at Lomond Gate and plan the route. Now, for anybody that's aware, there are actually, since I did this trip, they have put in a raption somewhere, but I'm ignoring it because I'm showing you this as I planned it at the time, and there will be routes where there are no raptions. So this method will serve you. So don't bother to tell me there's now a raption in Campbelltown. I know that, but this is to show you the method that I had to use at that time. And there will be routes, there's sections of the North Coast 500 where you're going to have to do what I'm about to do. So I'm charging up to 90%. So now all I do is add every charger. Because I know I've got no choice but to use the older chargers, I'm now just going to all of them, clicking add as a waypoint, dragging it to the relevant point on the route, add it as a waypoint, add it as a waypoint, oops, yep, no I did, and I don't know why the Campbelltown one's not appearing, it was for a while. Okay, we'll ignore that anyway, but you can manually add the Campbelltown one as well as a charging stop. I wonder if it's, maybe if I put in Chaddermill, would that alter anything? Plan route, hang on. Right, anyway, it's not important, okay? But basically, you can see what I'm doing. This is my ABC in action. Okay, so what I will do then is I will stop at every single charger on the way, even if I'm at 80 when I arrive, and I will top back up to 90. Okay, or I will try to top back up to 90. So I'll just quickly put that into the settings for every charger so you can see what's happening here. Right, that's all of them done. Okay, so all of them I've told it I'm going to try and get to 90%. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Basically then, I take that route, okay, and I then put it into the route planner app. So I'll show you how I do that now. Okay, so you've got the Jaguar route planner app. Okay, so we start up the route planner app, and I've put in the 2 locations that we are going to, or from and to. So it's the route to Southend Beach, as it says. Now obviously it is trying to take me the ferry, which I don't want to do, but since I'm going to have to put in these chargers as waypoints, then it's easier to just put those in as waypoints, and that will automatically stop it taking me to the ferry. So now there's 2 ways of doing it, but unfortunately the route planner app, for some reason, Jaguar, fix this please, some reason the route planner app does not have the charger locations. Okay, don't know why, but it doesn't. So I know the first one is at Lomond Gate Services. So if I go to Lomond Gate Drive, it will take me to roughly where it is. And this is where it is, where the Greggs and the Burger King are. So I just do a long press there, and you'll see it comes up with that point. Add that as a waypoint. Save it. Getting your route. And now you can see it's taking me the way I want to go. And then you just go around, all the way around, doing that same thing all the way. So there's Arrochar. You can either do it for searching for things, or if you know where things are, and I happen to know where these are, but add that to the route, add waypoint, save it, and just basically do that for all the charges on the way around. Next one's at Inverary. Again, as I say, if you're not, if you're not familiar with the area, see, I find the easiest way then is to take a better route planner and zoom in. Rather than, you can type the addresses in, but quite often it doesn't go to the exact point, and the charges are hard to find. Some of them are. So if you go to a better route planner and zoom right in, as close as it'll let you zoom, it shows you pretty much, and they're really accurate, it shows you exactly where the charge is going to be. So then you take your route planner up, zoom into the same place, or, if you want to make it a little bit quicker, if it's an area you don't know, you can zoom in. There you go, that's the Avenue Inverary. And according to Bert Route Planner, it's not where the pin is, it's a bit further up than that, so it's about there. Add to route. And that's how I do it. Now, I don't have to show you every one of these, okay? But, sorry, add to route, add waypoint. And there you go. So I don't have to go through the entire route with every single charger. But that's what I do. There you can see it's showing up, as the whole route. It will sync to the car actually, I'm saying that, it won't sync to the car automatically. You have to pull the route up from the bottom, and then where it says save there, if you tap on that, it goes white. That's now been saved to your favorites. So that whole route will be in your favorites. It will sync to the car, and when you get in the car, it will be in the sat nav, and you can load it up and start driving. And that's it. That's all I do. So to create the route plan, I use the Jaguar Route Planner app, and for everything else, for the actual planning of the trip, I use a better route planner and PlugShare to check the charges out. So then having done all of that, just to finally explain what I would do on this trip then is I would stop at every one of those chargers and try it. Some will work, some will not work. That's always been my experience. Some of them you will get a partial charge, some of them it won't even start at all, and some of them will work just fine. So what I do is I just plan to stop at every one. That's what ABC is, always be charging. I stop at every charger and try and top back up to 90. And I do that at every single charger on the route until I'm at a point where I've got enough range in the car to get back to Lomondgate services. And to work that out, I just look at the mileage. So Lomondgate to Southend Beach is 22 miles plus 22, 44 miles plus 25, 67 miles, 75, 85 miles, 85 miles, 127 miles. So I know from Lomondgate to Campbelltown, to Southend Beach is 127 miles, which means it's 254 miles from Lomondgate down and back to Lomondgate. So 254 miles is too far. So what I need to do is get that down to, if I'm only charging to 90% and I'm working on a 200 mile range, slightly conservative, but trust me, you always want to be conservative. Please trust me. So I would say that gives me a 180 mile range. I don't want to arrive back at the charger with 0. So I'm looking at charging to 90% at 160 miles ideally. That means I should get back to Lomondgate with with enough charge, 20 miles of range, so about 10%. So what's 160 miles from Southend Beach is 42 60, 85, 87, 107. And what did I say I was looking for? 180 miles. Sorry. So I know it's 127 miles there. So I'm looking for one that's 53 miles or less. Is that right? Yeah. Sorry, it took me a minute there. So basically, once I'm 53 miles from Southend, then I know it's 53 miles to Southend, 127 miles back, that's 180 miles range. Okay, so what's 53 miles from Southend? The ferry terminal is 42, and Lawn Street car park is 60. So, okay. So I need to get a charge out of the ferry terminal or later. Bear in mind, there is also one at Campbelltown that I haven't programmed in, which you can do. You can manually add it as a waypoint. So in fact, I'll just do that quickly now. So if I add a waypoint and put Campbelltown. Okay, and input that before. Now, even though it doesn't know there's a charger there, because I know there is, I can actually put in that I'm going to charge up there to 90%. Even though it doesn't know there's a charger there, it will accept that you're telling it that you are going to charge there. Okay, so there we go. So from that, what this is telling me is that I need to get a charge. You know, all of these ones before that help to reduce your range anxiety, but at some point after the ferry terminal at Kennacraig, I need to get a charge because I need to be at 90% at the Kennacraig ferry terminal to get back to Lomondgate. So that's telling me I have to stop. I have to stop and charge. Okay, and that's what you do. You stop at every single one, you top up to 90, you move on to the next one. You'll only have used about 10%, maybe 15 on some of the longer legs, but you're constantly topping up to 90. So you're covering yourself for the next charger not working, or the one after that, or the one after that. And you can get about 5 or 6 chargers not working and still get home at the end of it by this method. So it's a bit painful, but it's what you need to do when your only option is those compact chargers. And then that's all you do. When you drive the route, you stop at every charger. You're only there for a short time, because if you're only charging from 80 up to 90, you know, you're only plugged in for 10, 15 minutes, but you're doing it every 20 odd miles, you know. And if you haven't received a charge either at the ferry terminal or Campbelltown on the way down, then you just have to stop at every one again on the way back until you do get a successful charge. Obviously, you don't need to charge to 90. You're, you know, the percentage reduces the closer you get to Lomondgate. So you might only have to charge up to 50% or 60%. But you stop at every charger on the way back until you get one that works. Assuming that, let's say, the ferry terminal and Campbelltown didn't work on the way down. And it doesn't mean, because they didn't work on the way down, doesn't mean they won't work on the way back. That's the weird thing with these chargers. So you can squeeze enough out of it. The reality for me was that I got a charge at Campbelltown and took it all the way up to, I can't remember if it was 90 or 100. Now, I think I actually got it up to about 99% because we were having dinner or lunch. But yeah, that's just the methodology. So that's how you do it on a trip like that. Okay. So let's look at one where you're not necessarily stuck with, let me just put in Glasgow Prestwick Airport. And this road trip was the House of Dunn. Right, so I changed a few things for this route plan as well. So I've got a goal arrival charge. I've reduced that to 10% because on this one, I remember I wanted to do a deep cycle of the battery. I wanted to get the battery down to about 10% so that I could then charge it all the way up to 100 in a single session. And that just helps to cycle the batteries and balance all the cells. Because I don't charge up to 100% every day, I plug in and charge back up to about 85 to 90 every day. So every 3 months, I like to do a deep cycle of the battery, and I did it on this trip. So I set it to arrival at 10%, and I remember it was supposed to rain that day, so I put in rain or snow. And plan route. Okay, so it's come up with 2. It's come up with an... Oh, right, okay. I forgot it had come up with that, actually. So let's have a look at PlugShare. Electric taxis. I don't know if this is going to be in here. Helps if you spell electric correctly. Electric taxis. No, don't know what it's trying to tell me. So where is electric taxis? Is it this one? Yeah, okay. Okay, let me try the... I don't think that's going to work. 203020. Oh, 203020 taxis, Dundee. There you go. Right. So there's obviously a taxi office. Wow! Wow! Look at that! It's very unfortunate. I mean, that is so cool. That is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. 5 chargers. But they're all compacts. But that's really cool. Okay, so I know I don't want to use that charging stop. It says I'm going to get there at 30%. So I think I can get a bit further than that. So let's look further along on the route. So what's that? Charge by Scotland. Caird Park. Caird Park. Dundee. I guess it's that one, is it? Shell petrol station, yep. What have we got here? Oh, now that... I don't know who EG Group are, but it's a Raption which will work. However, when I looked at this one, I thought, hang on, if I charge there and then I still have to get up to the House of Dunn, that's 31 extra miles, which is going to force me into that second charging stop. So let's see if we can get a charger further up. So what's Orchard Bank Business House? I don't think this one actually existed. So this might actually be a new one now. I don't think this one was this. Was this? I don't think this one was there. Oh, Orchard Bank is one word. Okay, it's not showing up on PlugShare at all, this one. But let's see if we can manually find it. It must be this one here, is it? Ah, yeah, that must be it. Oh, it must have existed because it's an old charger. But anyway, no good, old charger. So let's try the one just before the House of Dunn, which is Maison Dieu Lane. Maison Dieu... I spelled that correctly. Let me see. There we go. Yep, Maison Dieu Lane car park. Brecon, sorry, keep doing that. And look, you can see that one is a new style charger. Now that, so let's add that as a waypoint. And pop it in. And let's see what comes up now. Okay. Still 2 charging stops, but I'm getting there with 15% state of charge. And it's only 5 miles. Oh, there goes the car again. It's only 5 miles from there to the House of Dunn. So an extra 10 miles, which would be about 5% usage. So let's have a look. What happens if I move... Oops, sorry. What happens if I move the House of Dunn? Oops, sorry. No. Go away. Thank you. Right. What happens if I move the House of Dunn up? So we go to the House of Dunn, then to Mason Dew Lane. Can we do that? No, it's saying we have to charge. All right, let's go for arrival, minimum arrival of 5%. So I'm just having a look. Yeah, we can do that. Okay, so then if I go to that charger and charge to 90%, what does that do for us? It's still making us do a second charging stop, but only because of that 10% arrival. So if I change that to even a 5% arrival, let's have a look at what happens. There you go, it comes up with a single charging stop. Now, however, I want to arrive with 10%, so let's charge to 95 and see what happens. Okay, that's about right, 95%. It's a long charging stop. It's an hour and 20 minutes, which is longer than we want. But if we're going to the House of Dunn first, the good thing with this plan then is, now what I've done is tweak it to a point where we can get to the House of Dunn without stopping. And of course we'll have to stop. Of course my wife will need a bathroom break. Of course she will. And she's not here to hit me. Yes! You know, so we won't go all the way without stopping. It's, you know, it's 2 hours, 20 minutes. She can't do that. So we will stop for a bathroom break. But it means we can drive there. If we set off, you know, nice and early in the morning, we get a full day at the House of Dunn. Then we leave the House of Dunn, come back to Maison Dew Lane car park in Brecon, plug in. We can have dinner in Brecon then while the car is charging up. Eat dinner, wait for the car to charge up, and then drive home and do it all in one hit. So the whole trip, one charging stop. And because I've done my little search, I know that the charger is a Raption. So I'm happy to judge it this fine, where I wouldn't want to judge it that fine, you know, if I wasn't sure that the charger was going to work. Because it's a Raption, I've got a high degree of confidence. Now, what I remember from when I did the search as well was, is it this one? Yeah, that was the other thing that came up in the search as well, is that in Forfar, which is only about 10 miles from Brecon. Oh, this cat! It's only about 10 miles from Brecon. There's an Instavolt there. So, if Brecon didn't work, we could get back to Forfar and make it. You know, we arrive at Maison Dew Lane at 10%. If I add in Forfar filling station, the Instavolt, as a waypoint, and do plan route, you can see that we go from 95 to 89. So it only uses 6% going from Brecon to Forfar to the Instavolt. So if we arrive at Maison Dew Lane with 10% state of charge, That noise is my life, people. I love him to bits. But geez, he's this big and he's that loud. How is that physically possible? Anyway, yes, so yeah, if we get to Brecon at 10% and the charger doesn't work, we can still get to Forfar and that Instavolt, and we'll still have 4%. So as a backup, it's fine. And also, I know that a better route planner is slightly pessimistic. I've put in a 5% degradation, which hopefully my car doesn't have. So I've actually got a little more buffer and a little more leeway than this would suggest. So if this thinks I'll get to Forfar with 4%, I'll probably get there with more than that, somewhere closer to 10%. So basically we can travel all the way to the House of Dunn, have our day, drive back to Brecon, plug in. If it charges, we can go and have dinner. If it doesn't charge, we drive down to Forfar and plug into Instavolt. And we'll still have enough of a buffer. So that's important. If you're doing a single charging stop, always have a backup, because no matter how good the charger is, even if it's an Instavolt, which I have never had a single issue with, if you arrive there with 1% and there's a problem with the charger, either the power to the site could be down, the charger itself might be broken in some way, or there could be 4 cars queued up for it. You know, you never know. You need to have a backup. So what I'm saying is, always try and allow yourself a situation where, even once you've picked your charger, have a look round about and see how many other chargers you could get to if you need to. And if it's not at least one, you need to change your plan. Always, always, always have a backup. But that's what I did. As you can see now, we've got Maison Dieu Lane and Forfar as a backup. Hopefully I will not have to charge there. And in fact, Better Route Planner is just telling me to add 1%, which gets me back home with 14% state of charge. So all told, we're looking at, you know, charging up once, whether it's Maison Dieu Lane or whether it's the Instavolt in Forfar. We've got a single stop, and I know that both of those chargers are reliable. And that basically is how I plan my road trips. And again, I then transfer that into the Route Planner app in exactly the same way as you saw before, although this one will be quicker because all I'm putting in is home to House of Dunn, to that charger at Brecon, back home again. So it is even easier again. Now, when I did this road trip, I did exactly what that plan showed, and I went to the House of Dunn, then went to Brecon. It did work. It was a little problematic. If you watch the video or have watched the video, you know what I mean. It wasn't a simple process, but knowing that I had the Instavolt as a backup was such peace of mind for me. And yeah, we got there, we charged up, and then we went home. Now, on that occasion, we intentionally did it that way. When in reality, what I would probably have done is stop somewhere for breakfast, you know, even if it's just a coffee and a snack, plug in while I'm having breakfast, just to add, 10, 15%, whatever, so that charging stop at Brecon doesn't have to be a 1 hour charging stop. I can go there and get away with hopefully a 45-minute charging stop. But for that road trip, I wanted to, it was a bit of a proving ground for me. I wanted to prove that I could do let's drive somewhere and only charge once type of road trip. And I did it, and it worked great. But for me, and you'll see it if you look at my Britain's Strongest Women video, you'll see that I actually find it more relaxing, because we have to stop anyway. Wife's bladder is literally this big. And I like to stop for the odd coffee and snack on the way. So while we're doing that, I just like to plug in, because then it reduces the length of the actual big charging stop down to a shorter time. So yeah, but that's how I plan my road trips. It's important when you're traveling in Scotland because of the Charge Play Scotland issues, and it works for me. ABC is my last possible port of call. It's the final option that I'll accept. But if you're on a route where there just are no options, you've got no choice but to use those compacts, then use the ABC policy and just stop at everyone. But with a little bit of search and a little bit of effort and a bit of time on PlugShare, you can look, and it's quite quick. It's actually quite easy to look at all the chargers on your route and find the ones that will work for you, if there are any. So yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you find it useful. If you do, then please let me know down below. If you've got any other tips or hints to share about your route planning techniques, then share them down below as well. As I say, I have since this, I have tweaked some of the settings for how I use a better route planner. So I set it to 400 watt hours per mile, which is pretty spot on for me. It's a reference consumption at 65 miles an hour, and for me 400 watt hours per mile pretty much ties in with exactly what I get from my car, which is first edition on those 22-inch wheels, remember. So if you've not got 22-inch wheels, you'll probably get a slightly lower value than that working for you. But that figure equates to, I think it's 249 watt hours per kilometre, or 400 watt hours per mile, if depending on whether you work in kilometres or miles. Hello. Hello, Birkin. So yeah, he's now going to try and sit on my keyboard. Yeah, there's a good point. So yeah, that's the video. That's how I plan it. If you've enjoyed it, found it useful, beneficial, helpful, then please click on the like button. If you are enjoying the channel and you want to make sure you don't miss out, then please subscribe. It's also hugely helpful for me and the channel. And once you clicked on subscribe, if you click on the little bell icon next to it, then you can get a notification every time I upload a new video and you don't miss anything going forwards. If you do want to subscribe, click on my ugly little face over here. And don't forget to check out the other videos on my channel like this one up here. Till next time, this is Abu Dhabi Dude saying so long, take care, see you soon. Bye. Abu Dhabi Dude.